From this to this. Today I'm going to walk you through the braided Christmas wreath. I've crocheted my strips here and they are stuffed with fiberfill, and I've got 3 of them all in a self-striping yarn. You're going to make each strip 56 inches long. Okay, so now you're going to mark each one with a stitch marker. I had 3 sets of stitch markers. My first one was a heart, and I marked the very first stitch of this strip with a heart. And then I went to the very end and to the last stitch of this strip of for my braid and marked it with another heart stitch marker. For the next one, I used plastic. So I've just got a plastic one here and a plastic one on the end and a round bead on this one with a round bead on the end. This will be helpful in once we've already braided the wreath to know which end to seam together. Once you have all your strips marked, you need to secure them together. I found just a simple binder clip worked really well for that. And this is just holding them together. So you can just clip those together, those ends, and then clip the next strips next to one another. Again, you can use anything for this. You could use a safety pin. You could temporarily weave a piece of yarn through and kind of temporarily secure it in place. So if you can see that, I just got each strip that's been worked in the rounds just clipped together to hold them in place. Those will obviously be removed. Okay, so now it's time to braid our strips together. This is just a traditional braid that you'd braid a girl's hair with or anything like that. So you might be familiar with it. If you're not, you can just kind of space these out. And you're going to start by taking the outer strip and moving it to the center. And then you're going to kind of separate those again. And now you got 2 strips here. You're going to take the outer strip and move it to the center. And now you're going to take this outer strip and move it to the center. Now you're going to take this outer strip and move it to the center. You can see our braid forming. And then outer strip to the center, outer strip to the center. You want to kind of keep this a little bit tight. You'll be able to kind of fiddle with it once you're all done. But you're going to just continue to braid these strips all the way to the end. Now that we're done here at the end, you can go ahead and, gets to be a little bit trickier, but you can go ahead and clip these ends together. And they're not all going to be exactly the same length, but that's the nice thing about crochet. You can kind of pull one a little bit longer if you need to. But just clip those in place so that it makes the next step a little bit easier to work with. Okay, now for the fun part. Now you get to take your braid and create the circular wreath. It's best to do this on a flat surface so that it will keep that shape. And as you can tell, you just kind of wrap that around. And you can kind of see how your wreath is going to take shape right there. Now this is going to be the confusing part, is getting all this stuff sewn together. Now you have to figure out which strip sews to which strip, and that's why I like to use the different stitch markers. So I'm going to take this, I have basically the round one, the plastic, and then the heart. And on this side, it's the opposite. I have the heart, then the plastic, and then the round one. Since the plastic is in the center of both of them, I'm going to sew that one together first. So I'm going to unclip this, unclip this side, and clip the 2 outer strips together. And this is my center strip. I'm going to repeat that on this side as well. Okay, once I've unclipped them, it kind of came unbraided a little bit, and that's perfectly fine. So I have my 2 plastic stitch markers, so I know these ends go together. So I'm going to go ahead and take those off so they're out of the way. I'm going to thread my yarn needle here, and we're going to stitch these ends together. Now you probably noticed that the edges were not even because you began, let's see, I think this is the side I began on, oh, this one right here, with a foundation single crochet, and then started right into the half double crochet, link double crochet. So there's kind of this abrupt edge, and on this one, I just ended abruptly, so there's that abrupt edge. So you're gonna take those and line them up perfectly like this, and just seam around. So again, you're just gonna align those. So I'm gonna take the top of this stitch, work from the back to the front, go through the top of the stitch, and pull that through. And then I'm gonna go from the inside to the out of that stitch and pull those together. Now this is gonna get a little tricky because you're gonna have to like kind of work around the entire strip. So the first few stitches are gonna be a little bit easier. And then you're probably gonna need to flop this up on your lap and kind of twist it as you sew. So I'm just gonna do a couple more and then I'll come back after this has been all stitched together. Once you have it stitched together, go ahead and secure the ends with a knot and bury in your loose ends. Okay, so you can see it's kind of stitching together there. We'll come all the way around and then I will sew the sides of the first and the last stitch together so that there's not a hole in there. Okay, once you have the first strip completed, it's time to figure out the next two strips that are gonna go together. As you are trying to get your stitches aligned, a lot of these have come undone, and you just kind of need to re-braid them until you can get them to align. If you're having a hard time getting, like, here's my round ball strip and here's my round ball strip over here, those two are gonna go together, and then this one's gonna have to wrap underneath and then back up through here. This is a little bit looser right now because that's what I last sewed. So you may have to come back through these and like either pull them tighter into a tighter braid to get a little bit more of the strip available to use to sew, because this is going to be looser, and then when you're all done, then you can kind of fiddle with it and loosen that back up so that it lays nice and flat. So again, get this all woven up together. I've got my round ball strip here, my round ball strip here, and I'm going to go ahead and use my yarn needle now and sew those two together. And here is the completed braided Christmas wreath.